Before the reign of the dinosaurs, another world existed, carved from a single immense continent. It was an empire of giants, a dynasty of formidable beasts who ruled for millions of years, their sovereignty seemingly etched into the very fabric of the planet. But the story of life is a saga of extinction and succession, of crowns lost and kingdoms inherited by the meek. Now, let us turn the pages of deep time and witness the fall of one world and the rise of another. 252 million years ago, in the late Permian Period, the Earth was Pangaea. This supercontinent stretched from pole to pole, its vast interior a semi-arid expanse crisscrossed by river systems that fed immense fern prairies and forests of primitive conifers. This was the age of the therapsids, the so-called mammal-like reptiles, a sprawling and successful dynasty that had conquered the land. When we peel back the layers of rock in places like South Africa's Karoo Basin, the fossil record reveals a complex and stable ecosystem, a testament to their long and prosperous rule. At the apex of this world was a predator of terrifying efficiency, the Gorgonopsian. Creatures like Inostrancevia, the size of a grizzly bear, were the undisputed monarchs. With powerful limbs built for running and immense saber-like canines designed for a killing bite, they were the ultimate expression of Permian power. Their reign was absolute, a long-held peace maintained by fear and predation. They were the keystone of an ancient order, the protectors of a balance that had held for an eternity. Beneath them, herds of great herbivores browsed the plains. Towering Parasaurs, armored like reptilian tanks, moved alongside the Dicynodonts, a diverse group of tusked, barrel-chested plant-eaters who were the era's dominant grazers. This was a world of established roles, of predator and prey locked in a timeless dance. It felt permanent, eternal. The very air hummed with the quiet confidence of a dynasty that knew no rival. And among the subjects of this kingdom lived a creature of no particular distinction. It was a Dicynodont, but a humble one. Roughly the size of a pig, with a stocky frame, a turtle-like beak for slicing vegetation, and two modest tusks. It was named Lystrosaurus. It was numerous, yes, but utterly unremarkable. In a world of saber-toothed kings and armored giants, it was an afterthought, a commoner in the court of Permian titans. It was a sturdy, adaptable burrower, well suited to its environment, but gave no indication that it was destined for greatness. The fossil record shows it was just one piece of a complex puzzle, a supporting character in a grand epic. This world, with its clear hierarchies and ancient stability, seemed destined to last forever. But deep within the earth, a power was stirring that owed no allegiance to the Gorgonopsian kings, a geological force that was about to bring their entire dynasty to ruin. The dynasty of the Permian did not fall to a rival predator or a slow decline. It was brought down by the planet itself. The geological force stirring beneath Pangaea was a volcanic event of unimaginable scale, known today as the Siberian Traps. In what is now northern Russia, the crust tore open, not as a single cone, but as a weeping wound in the earth, a flood basalt province that would bleed lava for nearly 1 million years. Fissures, miles long, split the land, unleashing curtains of fire that built up a sea of molten rock 2 miles deep, eventually covering an area larger than modern Europe. When we analyze the isotopic data from rock layers of this age, we see the chemical signature of a world being systematically poisoned. The lava didn't just flow, it burned. It ignited vast subterranean coal seams and natural gas fields, injecting trillions of tons of carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere. The result was a runaway greenhouse effect, a swift and suffocating global fever. The very air grew thick with CO2, a condition known as hypercapnia, making every breath a struggle for animals with less efficient respiratory systems. Then came the rain. Volcanic sulfur dioxide saturated the clouds, creating a relentless, planet-wide downpour of sulfuric acid. This toxic rain stripped the leaves from the primitive forests, poisoned the soil, and choked the freshwater rivers, turning them into acidic streams. The foundation of the Permian ecosystem, its vast flora, was dissolving. The great herbivores, the lumbering dicynodonts and armored parasaurs, now wandered a barren, dying landscape, starving in their tens of thousands. The fall of the plant-eaters sealed the fate of their hunters. The Gorgonopsians, with their massive bodies and high metabolic needs, were supremely adapted for a world of plenty. In this new, impoverished world, their strength became a fatal weakness. The last of the saber-toothed kings perished in a wasteland they no longer recognized, their dynasty erased not in a glorious battle, but by slow, inexorable starvation. In the oceans, the catastrophe was even more complete. As land temperatures soared, the seas warmed, lost their oxygen, and stagnated. Vast blooms of anaerobic bacteria spewed toxic hydrogen sulfide, suffocating marine life on a colossal scale. The fossil record is stark. 96% of all marine species vanished. On land, over 70% of terrestrial vertebrate life would disappear. It remains the closest life has ever come to being completely extinguished. This was the Great Dying, yet in this global charnel house, a few clung to life. And here, the unremarkable Lystrosaurus revealed its hidden genius for survival. While the acid rains lashed the surface and temperatures fluctuated wildly, Lystrosaurus could retreat to the relative stability of its burrows. The fossil record provides direct evidence of these dens, where they could shelter from the worst of the apocalyptic conditions above ground. Furthermore, its generalist diet was a critical advantage. While specialists starved, Lystrosaurus could survive on the tough, fibrous rhizomes and tubers it could dig from the poisoned soil with its beak and tusks. Perhaps its most crucial adaptation was invisible. The unique structure of its broad chest and large nostrils suggests it possessed a remarkably efficient respiratory system. In the thin, toxic, low-oxygen air of the dying Permian world, this biological gift would have been the difference between life and death. While other animals suffocated, Lystrosaurus could breathe. It was not stronger than the Gorgonopsians, nor more imposing than the giant Dicynodonts, but it was a master of disaster. As the Permian world burned and gasped its last, this humble burrower was uniquely equipped to endure the inferno. Waiting to inherit the silent, empty world to come, the fires eventually subsided and the acid rains ceased. What remained was a ghost of a planet, a world scoured clean. The early Triassic period dawned on a landscape of profound emptiness. The complex ecosystems of the Permian, the fern savannas, the diverse forests, the intricate food webs, had been replaced by a low-diversity scrubland of hardy, opportunistic plants. The thunderous footsteps of the Gorgonopsians and the shuffling of vast Dicynodont herds were gone, replaced by an unnerving silence. This was the world Lystrosaurus inherited. It was not a throne won by conquest, but an empty kingdom claimed by default. In this broken world, the survivor became king, with its primary predators extinct and its competitors for food almost entirely eliminated. The populations of Lystrosaurus exploded. The evidence for this is one of the most astonishing stories in the fossil record. When we examine early Triassic rock formations across Pangaea, from Antarctica to India to China, we find a world dominated by a single animal. In many of these fossil beds, the skeletons of Lystrosaurus account for up to 95% of all terrestrial vertebrates found. For a few million years, to walk the Earth was to walk through the kingdom of Lystrosaurus. It is the ultimate example of a disaster taxon, a species whose success is forged in the crucible of mass extinction. Its dominion, however, was an illusion of a different kind. Its sheer numbers provided a temporary stability, a foundation upon which life could begin to rebuild. But a world dominated by one herbivore is an unbalanced one, and evolution abhors a vacuum. While the Lystrosaurus dynasty flourished, other, rarer survivors were quietly adapting in the shadows. Among them were the Archosaurs, a group of reptiles that included the ancestors of crocodiles and dinosaurs. They were small at first, but in the recovering world, they found opportunity. The vast, slow-moving herds of Lystrosaurus represented an abundant food source, a reliable resource that fueled the evolution of the first true predatory Archosaurs. The humble burrower that inherited the Earth ultimately became the architect of its own succession. The world it stabilized became the cradle for the next global dynasty. As the climate slowly healed and ecosystems grew more complex, the generalist adaptations that had saved Lystrosaurus were no longer enough. The specialists returned, and among them, the Archosaurs, and soon the Dinosaurs, rose to prominence. The reign of Lystrosaurus faded, its dynasty a critical but transient chapter between two ages. The story of Lystrosaurus is a profound testament to the cyclical nature of life on Earth. It reminds us that dominance is always temporary, and that the blueprints for survival are often found not in strength, but in resilience. From the ashes of the planet's greatest fire, one humble creature endured, held a broken world together, and unknowingly paved the way for the dawn of a new age of giants.